The smoke still curled over Varellan's shattered cities, but Earth's black-armored soldiers were already helping the survivors. Med drones buzzed overhead. Food packs and water dropped from the sky. Tents unfolded from metal cases like blooming flowers. The people of Varellan stared at the humans, not with fear, but with disbelief. Earth had come, Earth had saved them, and not a single human asked for thanks. News of the battle spread fast across the galaxy. Surveillance satellites leaked. Footage of human warships destroying enemy fleets in seconds. Videos showed Ashborn warriors walking through fire. Screams. Explosions. Silence. In less than 2 days. Earth's unnamed fleet had done what the Galactic Council couldn't in 5 years. They stopped the war. No. Across the stars, every species asked the same question. Why didn't the Council help first? Inside the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, panic filled the air. Dozens of leaders argued across the circular chamber. Fingers pointed, voices shouted. They shouldn't have intervened. They had no right. They saved Varellan, shouted another. The High Chancellor, an aged lizard-like being, slammed his staff. Order! Order! But it was too late. One representative stood, tall and proud, a young ambassador from a desert world. He lifted a screen showing Earth's fleet in action. This is what leadership looks like. While we debated, Earth moved. While we watched, Earth saved. And we call them the problem? The chamber fell into silence. At the same moment, in Earth's orbit, the second wave of warships entered formation. Bigger, heavier, meant for offensive war. Not all humans were celebrating. Some stood in war rooms with tight jaws and clenched fists. Commander Raylan looked at the fleet's expansion on the display. They're coming too late, he muttered. An officer asked, Who, sir? Raylan turned slowly. The ones who should have been first. The Council. And they did come. One day after Earth's victory, the Galactic Council finally sent ships to Varellan. Bright, shiny, diplomatic cruisers. No guns. Just speeches. They landed with gold banners and polite faces. Cameras followed. Their leaders wore long robes and spoke soft words. We are here, they said, to help rebuild. But they were not greeted with cheers. They were met with silence. Alien civilians turned their backs. Some hissed. Some wept. Some pointed at the sky toward Earth's fleet, still hovering above, watching. You came late, one elder spat. You let our children burn. A council ambassador tried to speak with Captain Hall. They landed beside Eclipse 1 in a glowing ship shaped like a bird. The ambassador stepped out with a smile. Captain, we're relieved to see peace restored. Earth's help was unexpected. Hale didn't return the smile. He looked at the ambassador for a long second, then simply said, You abandoned them. The ambassador laughed nervously. No. We had meetings, votes, protocols. They begged for help. Holly interrupted. You gave them silence. The ambassador cleared his throat. Perhaps next time, Earth can coordinate with us. There won't be a next time, Holly said coldly. If another signal comes, we won't ask. We'll just act. Back on Earth, citizens watched the footage. Something was changing. For years, Earth had tried to be peaceful, tried to join the Council, tried to follow the rules. But now the world was waking up to a new truth. When the galaxy cries for help, Earth answers in fire. Some species tried to rewrite the story. Council officials spread news that Earth used illegal weapons, that their soldiers were too violent. But survivors from Varellan began sharing their own messages. Images of humans carrying injured children. Ashborn soldiers shielding alien civilians from bombs. Engineers rebuilding schools. Medics crying over lost lives. The truth was louder than the lies, and the final break came 1 week later. A message from the Council demanded Earth step down. disband its fleet, and return to peaceful diplomacy. Earth didn't respond with words. Instead, they sent one image back, a black warship hovering over a liberated city. Its name glowed red, forged in fury. From that moment on, alliances shifted. Old friends turned cold. Former enemies sent quiet messages. But Earth didn't care. The humans had chosen their path. They didn't need a seat at the table anymore. They were the table. Asterisk, after the Varellan victory, Earth's commanders gathered in silence. They weren't celebrating. They were investigating. Something was wrong. The invaders weren't random pirates. Their ships were too advanced. Their weapons too perfect. And worse, each destroyed crawler carried the same signature buried deep in its code. Signal, faint, hidden. But human systems found it. It was a council signature. Inside Eclipse 1, Captain Hall stared at the holographic file. He turned to his intelligence officer. "You're sure?" The officer nodded. "Positive. These attackers, they were paid. The council didn't just ignore Varellan. They set it up." The room went cold. "So this wasn't a war," Halle said. "It was a test." Earth's network of dark satellites began pulling data fast. Secret transmissions, hidden fund routes, council meetings behind closed doors. Patterns formed. The enemy swarmed that attacked Varellan wasn't the real threat. They were just the knife. Someone else held the handle. That someone was called the Vayari Circle, a secret faction inside the Galactic Council. Untouchable. Unknown to most, they believed Earth had grown too strong, too quiet, too dangerous. They wanted to provoke a reaction, to make humans act, and then label them as unstable. They didn't expect Earth to win so fast. They didn't expect Earth to be watching. Captain Halle sent a secure transmission to Commander Raylan back on Earth. "We have a name," he said. "We know who planned it." Raylan listened carefully, then simply replied, "Then we burned the mask off their faces." While the Council scrambled to explain the defeat, Earth's Second Fleet was already in motion, heading not to war zones, but to archives. A task force of elite hackers and data hunters entered Council-connected networks. They didn't fire. Single shot. They just took everything. Thousands of hidden files. Audio from secret meetings. Proof of the Vayari Circle's operations. Orders to delay Council aid. Instructions to frame Earth after the invasion. And Earth didn't keep the data quiet. They shared it. In one night. Across every major system, news screens lit up. Council conspiracy exposed. Earth releases classified proof of war setup. Varellan was bait. Human intel shows coordinated silence. Why did the Council betray their own? Billions of beings watched. Billions turned against their leaders. Inside the Council hall, chaos exploded. Representatives shouted. Accusations flew. Some demanded resignation. Some called for arrests. The Vayari Circle vanished. No one could find them, but Earth could. The next morning, deep in the neutral system of Arca 9, a hidden facility exploded. No alarms. No survivors. Just a single message left on a metal wall. "We found you." Signed, Eclipse 1. Captain Halle stood on his bridge, arms behind his back. "They wanted a reaction," he said. "Now they've got one," an officer asked quietly. "What now?" Halle looked out into the stars. "Now we show them who holds the real curtain." But not all species feared Earth's moves. On distant worlds, strange things began happening. Old allies of the Vayari Circle started surrendering. Former enemies of Earth began sending peaceful offers. One alien prince sent a message directly to Earth's command. "We no longer see you as a death world. We see you as the balance. When others hide the truth, you reveal it with fire." Back on Varellan, the rebuilding continued. Lyra, the young technician who sent the original distress signal, now helped coordinate medical supply drops with human engineers. She had scars, but she smiled more now. Every time she looked up at the black ships above, her chest filled with a strange warmth. They had come for her people. They had kept their word. In a quiet moment, she stood beside a human soldier and asked, "Why? Do you fight this hard? For people you don't even know?" The soldier didn't answer right away. He looked at the horizon, then said, "Because once, no one came for us. We promised never to let that happen again." There was no sound in deep space. Only shadows moved sharp, fast, and blacker than the void itself. A fleet was coming. It had no name, no banners, no colors. Its ships were not listed in any registry. No broadcasts, no calls, no messages. Just cold silence and glowing engines that whispered one thing to the stars. War was coming. From a distance, other species watched from listening posts and secret stations. They saw the dark ships rising from Earth's orbit. The Council's analysts tried to identify the class. They couldn't. The designs were new but old. Smooth, brutal, and efficient. Built not for display, but for death. Some looked like weapons with engines. Others moved without visible propulsion, sliding through space like sharks. Then, one by one, the signals from the observers went dark. Earth didn't want to be watched. Inside Eclipse 1, Captain Hall stood at the center of the war room. The crew around him were all silent. Every officer had seen combat. Every soldier had bled. Yet no one spoke, because they all knew this wasn't a mission. This was a message. The enemy that attacked Varellan didn't just kill civilians. They destroyed children's hospitals. They melted forests. They used weapons designed to spread fear. But they made one mistake. They did it where Earth could see. Back at Varellan, the skies above the burned cities changed. It started with a dark shape, then another, then a dozen. Alien survivors looked up and froze. Even in their fear, they had never seen ships like these. One survivor whispered, Those aren't Council ships." And then came the sound, a deep, rumbling growl across the sky. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't an engine. It was something alive. The lead ship, Eclipse 1, descended like a falling blade. It didn't land. It hovered just above the city ruins. From its underside, ramps opened, and the first humans dropped. The Ashborn walked into the fire. They wore black armor that shimmered like burning coal. Their faces were covered with red visors. No ranks, no names, no words. They landed in the middle of enemy ground. And then the enemy came. Insectoid war machines crawled from the ruins, their limbs sharp and clicking. Their weapons buzzed with red plasma. They surrounded the humans. And the Ashborn stood still. 1 second. 2. Then the human at the front raised a single hand. The swarm charged. What followed was not a battle. It was an execution. Human soldiers moved like lightning blades. Fire, fists. Enemy limbs were sliced mid-air. Plasma fire burned through their shells. Screams echoed, but not from humans. One Ashborn soldier ran up a crawler, stabbed through its brain, flipped off, and landed without a sound. Another threw a heavy enemy. Tank across a broken wall like it was a toy. For the first time, the invaders broke formation. They retreated. They had faced many species, but they had never faced humans like these. Lyra, the technician who sent the signal, was hiding behind debris when a human soldier landed beside her. He turned and looked at her. She froze, staring at the armor, the burning red eyes. But instead of speaking, the human reached down and lifted the concrete slab off her leg with one arm. He didn't say a word, just helped her stand. Her voice shook. Who are you?" The soldier paused, then finally spoke. "We're the fleet that was never meant to be built, only forged." Then he was gone, already running back into the fire. Up above, more human ships dropped down. Bombers, gunships, mechs. The sky wasn't silent anymore. It roared, and the galaxy finally realized Earth hadn't just answered the call for help. It had brought judgment. Asterisk, the alien invaders didn't believe in fear. They believed in power, cold, brutal power. They had crushed over a dozen peaceful planets, burned forests, poisoned oceans, and left nothing but ash. Their leaders called it cleansing. Their soldiers didn't speak. They obeyed, but they had never met humans. Not like this. On Varellan's surface, the ground shook. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and something else. Rage. Eclipse 1 hovered above the city ruins, firing precise shots that turned armored war beasts into molten wreckage. One by one, the rest of Earth's dark ships entered orbit, moving in complete silence. No lights, no signals. Like predators in the dark. Then, without warning, the humans launched full assault. It wasn't a rescue mission. It was vengeance. First blast came from a ship named HFY. It fired a single rod of compressed metal at near-light speed into the enemy's mobile base. The explosion lit up the sky like a new sun. The alien command center vanished. A crater formed where it had stood. The alien invaders didn't expect that. They tried to regroup, tried to form defensive walls, but Earth's forces moved like fire. Ground teams landed in squads of 4 and 10, tearing through enemy ranks. With unmatched coordination, Ashborn soldiers didn't use cover. They were the cover. High above, human bombers dropped kinetic charges, no explosives, just solid rods that fell like meteors and cracked the ground like thunder. In the smoke, the enemy screamed in their own clicking language. Retreat! Retreat! But there was no place to run. Human dropships landed in every direction, releasing more Ashborn. Black armored soldiers with eyes that glowed red under their visors. They didn't yell. They didn't taunt. They simply moved forward. In one zone. Lyra, still limping, was being carried by a young human engineer named Dale. He wasn't a soldier, but he had joined the mission to repair tech and save lives. He set her down near a crushed building and shielded her from falling debris. She looked at him. "You're not what I expected." He smiled slightly. "Neither is our fleet." Elsewhere, in a half-destroyed cathedral, an alien war leader roared orders. "Humans are few. They can't win this fight." Then a human mech crashed through. The roof. Its arms pulsed with plasma cannons. Its voice boomed through speakers. "Wrong address, bug." The cathedral exploded in blue fire. Back on Eclipse 1, Captain Hale watched the battlefield through holographic screens. "Enemy forces dropping fast," one officer said. "They're pulling back from the northern sectors." "Don't let them," Hale said. "They run, we chase. They hide, we burn." He tapped the screen. "Begin phase Ember. Full sweep." As Earth's forces advanced, they didn't just kill, they recorded. Every fallen civilian. Every destroyed home. Every scorched tree. Data was sent to Earth Command, not for tactics, but for memory. So that the galaxy would never forget what was done. So they would never mistake Earth's silence for weakness again. By nightfall, the fires of Varellan had changed color. They no longer burned from destruction, but from Earth's retaliation. The invaders' ships tried to escape into orbit. They didn't make it. Human railguns from the edge of the system picked them off like glass birds in the wind. Each hit silent. Each one final. And then it was over. The last of the invaders fell. The skies quieted. Varellan still burned, but now the smoke carried something else. Hope. Alien survivors peeked from hiding places. Children ran toward the landing sites of human ships. Some touched the black holes like sacred stone. For the first time in days, No one screamed. Captain Halley stepped onto the planet's surface, boots crunching over ash. A young alien approached him, trembling. She looked up and whispered, "Are you? Are you going to leave now?" He looked out over the destroyed land. "No," he said. "Not yet." He opened his comms. "Start cleanup. Begin med drops. Build shelters. Feed everyone. Ours or not, no. More dying on this ground." The galaxy didn't understand what just happened, but they would. Earth had made contact, and it was fire. Asterisk. The stars had always watched in silence, but now they burned with memory. And fear. After the truth came out, the conspiracy, the betrayal, the Vayari Circle Earth sent no demands, no warnings, no council votes. Only one final message echoed across the galaxy. "We are not your soldiers. We are not your pawns. We are the fire you lit, and now we finish what you started." Then came the silence, and then the fleet. It wasn't the same one that saved Virelin. This new fleet was bigger, meaner. Its hulls gleamed like polished obsidian. Each ship bore no names, no lights. Only red markings burned into the metal, like scars. These were not ships of diplomacy. These were judgment vessels. The council begged for talks. Earth didn't reply. In secret, Earth had mapped out every known Vayari base, every dark world lab, every silent partner who funded the invasion. Now, the fleet moved not to fight battles, but to erase legacies. On the moon of Drelvan, a luxury station sat in peace. Gold walls, expensive wines. Powerful council members who once laughed at Earth drank in safety, until the sky opened. The shadow of an Earth warship fell over the station, like a storm cloud. There was no transmission. No demands. Only light. Blinding, red light from the sky. Seconds later, the moon cracked. And the Vayari leaders vanished from history. World by world. The fire spread. The stars were not conquered. They were cleansed. Each attack was surgical, precise. No civilians harmed. No cities taken. Only the guilty erased. People called it terrifying. Others called it beautiful. The galaxy watched in frozen awe. Not one ship tried to stop Earth. Because deep down, no one wanted to be next. In a dark chamber on Earth, Commander Raylan watched the mission logs roll in. His officers stood around him, silent. He closed the final report. "All targets burned," someone said. Raylan didn't speak for a while. Then, "Finally, tell them we're done." The next day, Earth sent a final message to the galaxy. It played in every language. The screen showed stars. Then Virelin. Then the destroyed enemy swarm. Then Earth's fleet hovering above, still and calm. And then a voice, not angry, not cold. Just firm. "We never wanted war, but we will never ignore a cry for help. To those who live with peace, we stand with you. To those who bring fire, we will be your fire. This is not a threat. This is a promise." The screen cut to black. Across the galaxy, something changed. Earth was no longer seen as a forgotten, silent planet. Now it was something else. A guardian, a warning, a fleet forged in fire that never forgot. On Virelin, months later, green life returned. Crops grew. Children laughed again. And every week, Earth sent supply ships, not warships. Just help. One little boy looked up and whispered, "They came back." Lyra, now a leader among her people, stood watching the sky with a small human badge on her chest. "They always do," she said. Captain Hallow stood on the deck of Eclipse 1, watching the stars. Peace had returned, but the fleet stayed ready, because in the silence of space, anything could wake again. And if it did, Earth would answer, not with speeches, but with the fleet that burned the stars. Asterisk. The stars were quiet. Too quiet. From a small blue planet named Virelin, an emergency signal blasted through space. The planet was under attack. Burning. Its cities had fallen, and millions were screaming in fear. The attackers were not known, not pirates, not raiders. Something worse. Something cold, fast, and silent. The Virelians had always trusted the Galactic Council. They believed in peace, in unity. But when the enemy came, the Council did nothing. High above the ruined cities, a single Virelian technician pressed the key. Last working beacon. Her hands shook as she sent out a universal cry. This is Virelin Prime. To anyone, please, help us. The signal echoed out into the black, across stars and systems, past trading routes and council territories. No one replied. Not the Andari, not the Ekans, not the High Command, not even the mercenaries, but far away on a forgotten, silent world covered in clouds. Earth heard it. Earth had been quiet for years. After the last war, they pulled away from the council. Humans stopped attending meetings, stopped trading, stopped speaking. Most aliens thought Earth had fallen into ruin or turned primitive again. They were wrong. Beneath the surface of Earth, inside the mountain vaults and deep ocean stations, humans listened. They had satellites hidden in dead systems. They tracked every signal, every whisper. When the Virelin signal passed through one of Earth's dark satellites, it didn't just get logged. It got flagged. Level red dot inside the Earth Strategic Command bunker. Alarms echoed. Commander Raylan, an old man, with sharp eyes and a scar across his jaw, stood over a glowing table. The signal played again, weaker this time. The message was short, but the fear in the voice said everything. He turned to his officers. Who else heard this? Council systems, maybe, one officer answered. But they didn't respond. Raylan didn't blink. He simply said, "Prep the black chambers." Far above Earth's orbit, hidden in the shadow of the moon, an old platform lit up. This was Forge Station Theta long believed to be decommissioned. It was not. Robotic arms moved. Plasma forges hissed to life. Giant metallic shells began to spin, ships being born in silence and fire. These were not normal ships. These were warships, ones designed not to protect, but to end wars. Old codes unlocked. Forgotten names returned. Project Flame, Project Hammerline, Project Wrathlight. Within 6 hours, Earth was building again. Not in hope, not in peace, but in fury. Meanwhile, Virelin burned. The technician who sent the signal, her name was Lyra, watched the sky through a cracked window. Her building was shaking. Alien screams came from the streets below. She had no weapons, no armor, just a radio. She whispered, "Please, someone hear us." Then silence. She believed no one would come, but high above, past dead stars and frozen light, something had already awakened. The council did hear the signal, but they chose to ignore it. Too dangerous, not their responsibility. Their diplomats spoke soft words. Their leaders closed the case. They had no idea Earth had already moved. Inside one of Earth's shipyards, a new warship roared to life. It was dark black, with a glowing red engine core like fire trapped in metal. Its name appeared on its side, Eclipse 1. Inside, its captain stepped onto the bridge. He looked human. Calm, cold. He gave only one order. Plot a course to Virelin, maximum speed. No transmissions. "Sir," his pilot asked, "do we tell them we're coming?" The captain shook his head. "They asked for help," he said. "They'll know who came when we arrive." The galaxies had forgotten Earth's anger. They were about to remember. Asterisk, far below the frozen surface of Antarctica, under miles of solid ice, a forgotten base roared to life. The base was called Black Forge. No one outside Earth knew it existed, not even Earth's own allies. It was carved deep into the ice during the last galactic war, built not for defense, but for revenge. Inside, the walls glowed red with heat. Superheated plasma lines flowed like rivers through giant pipes. Robotic. Arms moved with sharp precision. Sparks flew as the machines forged armor, cannons, and engines. This was no factory. This was a furnace. And Earth had just thrown rage into the fire. Commander Raylan watched from a cold command room above. His face remained unreadable, but his eyes followed every bolt, every flame, every machine. Status? He asked. His engineer replied, "The first 6 ships will be space-ready in 2 days. We're using old Wrath-class cores." Raylan nodded. "Reactivate the Titan line. We're not just answering the signal, we're making a memory." Elsewhere, deep within the mountain ranges of Asia, a second facility awoke. This one was silent. No flames, no noise, just stillness. And shadows. It was called Echo Vault. Inside, a different kind of weapon was being prepared, not ships, but humans. Soldiers stood in long rows, eyes closed, inside cryopods. Their bodies were scarred, their muscles built for war. These were the Ashburn Earth's most feared warriors, frozen since the last war because they were too dangerous even for peace. Now, they were needed again. At the same time, Earth's outer space detection grid lit up. Drones and black satellites began relaying images of the attackers' huge insect-like war machines, over 300 meters long, sweeping across Varellan cities. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't communicate. They only destroyed. "Who are they?" a young officer asked. Raylan replied, "Doesn't matter. If they burn one of ours, they all burn." Back at Varellan, the young technician Lyra crawled through rubble. The enemy had reached her building. She saw people she knew, neighbors, friends gone. Some buildings had simply melted under the strange weapons, but she still had her radio. She turned it on one last time. "This is Varellan Prime. Anyone, please." Suddenly, the static buzzed. A voice came through. One voice, calm, controlled, human. "Help is already on the way. Do not give up." Her breath caught in her throat. Who is this?" No answer. But above Earth, in orbit, Eclipse One broke through clouds like a blade from the shadows. Its engines lit the dark. Its hull still glowed from the fires that forged. It dot inside the ship. Captain Hall stood over the display table. Red dots covered Varellan's surface. Enemy fleets were moving quickly. Civilians were trapped. Time was running out. He turned to his crew. "Wake the Ashburn," he said. "Prep. Strike cannons. And light up the Echo Protocol." "But sir," one officer said, "Echo Protocol hasn't been used in—" "I know," Halle said. "That's the point." Back at the forge, ship after ship launched upward like metal dragons, each one cloaked in silence. These were not colorful council ships. These were black, sharp, and terrifying. Even Earth's own population was told nothing. The skies remained empty to their eyes. Only the stars knew it was moving. One engineer stood, watching the last ship rise from the ice. She whispered, "They still think Earth is quiet." Beside her, another replied, "Let them think that, until they hear us scream."